Hello, hello, and happy Sunday to you. It's Sarah from Funky Fossil here, and I'm back with another crafty make for your inspiration this weekend. I've got the products that I'm going to use in my layered journal page in front of me. At the time of recording this is a new bundle in the shop. In particular, this is a new stamp set called Dreamer. It's an A61 and it's got this gorgeous kind of tree figure with the leaves blowing um, out from the hair or the branches. So it's a great one for autumn. I don't know if I'll have the stock in store by the time this video goes live, but if I don't, and this is something that you would like to get your hands on, then just go into the store and click notify me when back in stock, and I will ensure that I order some more stock for you. So we've got an A6 stamp here, we've got our beautiful oak leaf background stencil, and we've got Forever Fall, one of my favourite paper pads, full of the rich colours of the season, and this is going to be perfect for the collage background that I'm planning for this page. So you can see the rich, warm autumnal tones there. So they're the three Funky Fossil products that I'm going to use that are available together as a bundle. We're going to be using some brushos on our background. And these are water reactive powders that give you really intense pigment. And we're going to use some ordinary household bleach. Through the stencil to lift some of that brusho colour. It looks amazing, so I can't wait to show you that. I'm currently obsessed with it. I'm also thinking we'll add some layers with the distress embossing glazes. These are essentially a translucent embossing powder, so they put some colour down on the page, but they're not opaque, they're not a solid colour, so they're great if you are looking to add layers without necessarily covering over what you've already got down on the page. And say I'm going to be doing some stamping and also using my papers for collage. So I think that's everything. Obviously, if there's anything else that appears as I'm making, then I will kind of explain to you what I've got. But let's get going. Let's start with our fantastic background with a layer of vibrant brushos and see how we can use that bleach. Look at how fabulous this background is. So I've already gone ahead and used my brushos to create a kind of watercolor background full of really intense colors. I've used a watercolor kind of mixed media paper to do that. And the brushos that I used were yellow ochre, olive green, dark brown, burnt sienna, and leaf green. You don't need as many colours on the background as that, but I did get carried away. And I wanted to use a range of colours because one of the fabulous elements of this technique with the bleach is you don't end up taking the background back down to white. You actually end up pulling out different pigments from the brushos because they're not a single flat pigment. They do have a mix of colours in them. So if you have a multicoloured background, you never quite know what you're going to get when you start applying the bleach. Now, this is a technique that has been inspired by my lovely friend Erica Palfuman. Erica's a very talented artist with her own brand and range called Stampinori, and you can see her gorgeous artwork over on her website. And she often uses bleach with brushos over her stamped images. And I'm wanting to use it with stencils to see what kind of look we can get if we dab the bleach through the stencil to lift the colour. So I have a very, very tiny amount of household bleach in this plastic container, and I have a cosmetic sponge, which you can see some discoloration has already been used. Obviously, this is a technique that if you're not keen on strong smells, this may be a bit of a difficult one, and certainly worth doing in a well-ventilated area because the smell of that bleach is quite strong. I typically use it and then move the bleach out of the room so I'm not standing there with the fumes next to me. But it's just too good not to kind of have to live with the bleach. So I want a very small amount on my cosmetic sponge because I'm wanting to try and create a fairly sharp image here. I don't necessarily want too much bleed through. It doesn't matter because it gives it a really kind of arty look anyway. But as with all things when we're using our stencils, less is more. Don't go in with too heavy-handed with too much medium to start with. You can always go back over and strengthen the effect. And I can see already that this is going to have some fantastic colours. This is our oak leaf background stencil, which I think will work beautifully with the Dreamer stamp, because obviously we've got those leaves flying out from that face. So I think this will look like a kind of an extension of that image as a background. Right, let's see what we've got. I'm going to be doing some collage and other layers over the top of this, so I don't need the whole of the stencil necessarily to have caught. How cool does that look? Can you see? So you see the areas where we've applied the bleach have gone into a variety of blues and soft mint colours, whites. So it's not a super sharp contrast as in it's gone back to white. You just get these really unpredictable colours just emerging from that background. So just go in at this bottom corner. This is a whole other way to use your stencils, and one I've not personally tried before, so hopefully it's new to you as well. And I should say, as in terms of the various water reactive powders, I tried this with Lindy's and it didn't really work. I got a slightly foggy, milky lift, but nothing like the brushos have given me. So I can't guarantee you'll get this effect with all of the water reactive powders that you might have in your stash. Brushos have definitely given me the best results. But try what you have, see what effects you get. It may not be the same as this, but it might still be super cool. Look how vibrant that looks. That teal. How much more do I want to do? Do you know, I think I'm going to leave it there because I am conscious that I'm also going to have a focal point and I'm going to have some papers for collage. So actually having that sweep of leaves across the centre of the background is probably enough. So I hope you like that technique and give it a go. It's quick. Obviously, I'd already done the brusho background and left that to dry before I applied the bleach. But if you have a number of these backgrounds done and ready, have lots of fun trying different stencils out over the top, and you'll get a different effect every time, depending on the kind of mix of pigments that are dried on the paper. Right, I'm going to put this bleach out of the way so I'm not breathing it in, and we'll get on to the next layer. So my plan is to add another layer to the background that we've been working on. Obviously we've got the lift there that looks really beautiful, and I'm going to go back in with the same stencil but kind of turn it around a little bit so I don't obviously just replicate the same design. I want this look of kind of leaves tumbling across the background. So what I want to do is use some of the distress embossing glazes, because as I said at the beginning of the video, they are translucent, so they're not going to block out what sits underneath there, but they'll just add another layer of soft colour and the same, that repeating pattern of the leaves. And I've got peeled paint, rustic wilderness, rusty hinge, and the fossilized amber here. And what my plan is to go through the stencil with some embossing ink, and then sprinkle the different colours over the top. So I'm not, so I really want planning to get a mix of colours on the leaves, as you would in nature. And as we have already with this background, the brushos background, it has that natural look of the mix of autumn colours all together. So I'm applying my embossing ink with a brush. You could do it with a cosmetic sponge or a sponge dauber, however you like to apply your embossing ink. And I don't know, I can't because I can't see how many of the leaves I've actually caught with the ink, but again it doesn't matter because I am looking just to continue that sweep across the page. I'm not looking to get a solid background or full coverage, so it'll be a nice surprise to see where these embossing glazes land, she says optimistically. So I've got just some scrap paper here. Let's go in with some rustic wilderness first. Oh no, I haven't even opened this one, I don't think. I won't go in with rustic wilderness first then. Let's go in with one I do at least have open. Some rusty hinge. And because I'm wanting to mix my colours, I'm picking up the glaze just between my kind of thumb and forefinger and then just sprinkling it as you would almost do seasoning over the background. Because then we can try and ensure we don't get any solid colours. We'll just get a mix as the embossing glazes kind of land on the different embossed leaves. So this is really tricky because I'm kind of instinctively heading towards the bleached out leaves, but of course they're not necessarily where the embossing ink is. So that's some rusty hinge. And I will literally, rather than let that kind of run down naturally, I will flip that over and potentially start to see where these leaves are in terms of where the powder's catching. So this is some fossilized amber. And the last colour you go in with will be the one that kind of catches all the remaining areas. So that tends to be kind of going with your most prominent colour. I'm not worrying about decanting these back into the pots. I'm just going to waste it because it's only a pinch of each. So some peel paint. In fact, let's go in with the peel paint as the final colour rather than wait for me to open the rustic wilderness. It'll have to wait for another day. Actually, I'm going to have to carry on and do this anyway to get to the other corner of the page. So I will open it off camera and use it on that next layer. So can you see the leaves are now starting to emerge, but obviously that pure paint has only settled where the rusty hinge and the fossilized amber weren't, so it just catches the last. Is there any there? No. It just catches the areas that have been left untouched. This is really cool. It's like watching the leaves emerge. So there's one there as well, you see. Great. Right, let's heat set that. We can see the effect we're getting, and then I will off camera just complete the rest of the background by doing exactly the same for a second time. I've got embossing glaze all over the place. There's a surprise. Unfortunately, there's such big tubs of them. Right, I'm going to set my heat gun on and we can just see what these look like when they've turned. So that's given us a really subtle but effective look, because the joy of the embossing glaze with it being translucent is it intensifies the colours that are beneath it. So you're getting that kind of the background still coming through, but it's also got some lovely autumnal colours of its own. So it really is kind of layering up nicely, isn't it? So I'm going to just carry on and make sure I complete it through to this corner, and then we'll come back to start putting on our focal image and collage elements. So we're ready to move on now to the next stage, which is kind of creating our focal point and also building a bit of collage around that focal point. So what I've done ahead of time is I've stamped the beautiful Dreamer stamp. It's kind of A6 image onto a sheet of the Forever Fall paper pad, because it's got some lovely kind of warm tones in there, which we know are going to work with our autumnal background. And then I've started, as you can probably see here, started cutting out elements from this paper pad. It's got a couple of fabulous pages which are almost kind of collage already in their own right. So that gives you lovely little panels and elements to cut out that you can then kind of incorporate. There's another one that you can then incorporate into your own projects. But you don't need this paper pad to do something like that. Any papers that you have, then just you could cut out small sections like this, kind of rectangle squares, and use them to create almost a bit like a patchwork effect on your background. Now, what I have done with the stamped image, I should mention, is I've cut it up into three. So again, this is another quite nice way of preventing this kind of focal point just being too blocky and solid in the middle of the page. So by cutting it up, we've almost created a very simple kind of mosaic. It just gives us some extra interest, and we're still focused on the movement that those leaves flying out from behind the face provide, and they work nicely with the leaves in the background. So hopefully it's starting to come together. So the key thing I now need to do is just select some pieces to build some more collage interest around this focal area on the paper, on the background, and probably try and add as well, being conscious of adding some contrast in. So here, for example, got a very dark piece of green, um, because we do have a lot of colours going um, on this background with the brushos. So we do want to try and ensure that the area that we want it to foreground has enough contrast to stand out from what's behind it. So I'll probably at this point start moving towards either the much lighter or the much darker papers, just to try and ensure that we're lifting this space. I hope that's making sense. So I don't think it actually needs a huge amount of extra pieces. This is what I was saying as well earlier on about not worrying too much about um, any overlap of the stencil, because quite a lot of that background's getting covered up with what we're doing on top of it, but it plays a really key part in the overall look and feel of the project. So it's kind of, it's always worth spending time on your backgrounds, partly because you can enjoy that messing about with no pressure, knowing that some of it will get covered, so you don't need to be perfect, but also because it does play such a valuable role in the overall finished project. So I've got three pieces here that I'm quite liking, just overlapping pieces, going for slightly kind of different shapes and sizes, but playing on that rectangles and squares look that we've got with the focal stamp. So I think I just want something else up in this top corner. That's probably has a bit of depth to it, doesn't it, in terms of darkness. So if I put that there, Yeah, that will work nicely, I think. I'm trying to also have a few, I'm annoying myself now, have a few of these elements kind of overlap in the focal point. So might want something that overlaps just here as well. Or do I put this to the front? That might, yeah. That, yes, that work. I'm looking at the camera above me. It gives me a nice kind of visual of what we've got in the project. So I'm happy with that as a configuration. What I'm going to do before I stick everything down is I'm going to go around and edge all of the pieces with some dark brown ink, just with my sponge, just to give them each all a little bit of definition and help them kind of stand out from the background. And then I'm going to stick all of this down. So I'm going to do that off camera rather than you kind of have to sit through the whole process. And then I'll be selecting a sentiment to go with this theme of page. And I've got some sentiments printed out here from the Escape to the Forest DigiKit. And the one that's calling to me really because of the stamp is every leaf speaks bliss to me, fluttering from the autumn tree. Could go with that one, be like a tree, stay grounded, keep growing, and know when to let go, because obviously it's letting go of the leaves, but I think I'm going to go with the first one. And I have it in both black and also neutral. So I'll cut it out in both colours and then audition it to see whether or not the lighter colour sentiment works better, or I need the contrast of the black and white. So I shall come back on camera once we've edged all of our elements, stuck them down, and we're just doing the very, very final few finishing touches to complete our journal page. So I think the page is coming together really, really beautifully. So I have inked around the edges of my collage elements, inked around the edges of the page, stuck everything down. And I think I'm going to mat it onto another piece of paper from the Forever Fall paper pad because I just love the rich tones of the wood, and leave quite a wide mat so it almost looks like it's in a picture frame. And that will go into my journal. I think the lighter of the sentiments works better so it doesn't get all too dark. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to stick the journal page down to the mat or put the sentiment on because I'm going to add some splatter. And also I think once the splatter is dry, I'm probably going to take this away and add a bit of stitching to it just to add some further texture to the page. But that's totally your personal preference. You may be happy to leave it as it is. And there's certainly lots of visual interest on the page with that layered stenciling, that kind of bleaching out of the background, the broken up kind of tiles on the front of the project, and all these colours just working so beautifully together. So the stitching is just simply something that I will add because I like to do it. So I thought I'd add some gold splatter. So I've got some kind of fluid gold paint here and a wet paintbrush. I'm just going to splatter some paint over this. I'm never happy unless there's a bit of splatter. It's quite a small paintbrush this, so it probably won't leave particularly big splatters. So it gets some on the darker pieces and you hopefully can see it. And again, this is a personal preference thing. It's just one of those things I like to do to give myself the feeling that a page is done. And just going with that whole distressed and grungy look that we've been building. So that's it done. You'll see the finished version with the stitching, obviously in the kind of the opening sequence, and the photos that I will add online. But really, really simple. And we've got some stenciling, we've got a single stamp, we're using our papers for the collaged elements, and they just layer up in a really beautiful way. So hopefully that's kind of got you feeling all autumnal. And you've enjoyed it. And if you have, then please do like and subscribe to my channel if you don't already. And I will be back very, very soon with another installment of some art journaling and crafty play. See you again soon. Bye for now.